Hello, my name is Joseph Carlson, and this is the Grief of Politics, episode 45. And just to say at the top, we're going to be talking about misinformation this month. So, Avin, how you doing? I'm joined by my co-host, Avin Carroll. Avin, how you doing?
Doing good.
Good. This story kind of fell in our laps. I'd been thinking about it for a little bit. You know, we always mull over what we're going to talk about and call each other, text thread. And it was going to lead with the story we're going to talk later about the Russian people hiring a right-wing media thing. And I was like, oh, that's such a broad thing. But then during the debate with Trump and Harris, there was a little bit of misinformation that got brought up. And then that will take us to the end of the debate into the Russian media story. So, Avin, you know, not that you're supposed to admire how clever I am, but isn't it really weird how all this kind of came together right before the episode, right before we're recording? I think it's strange. We were going to talk about a big, broad thing of misinformation, and then it got really specific with the debate. So, I mean...
I don't know. Why do you think it's strange, Joe? Do you think there's some kind of conspiracy to feed you and my news?
You know what? It's really weird. Maybe somebody paid some organization to line all these up. I don't know. It just, what did you we never really, that was where I was going to start the debate. I never, we haven't talked in a couple weeks. I've been out of town. What did you think of, did you watch the debates? What did you think about overall your impressions and all that stuff? Or you didn't watch it?
I have absolutely no desire to watch either of these candidates.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
They are both terrible people. Well, I can't say that about them as individuals, but they are both terrible politicians.
Yep.
They may be wonderful people in their personal life. I've heard report after report about how great Trump is and how he's a wonderful person and how he's so caring from all kinds of different people. I saw a video.
I mean, they're both
Kamala Harris's sister talking about her, right? So in their personal lives, they're probably just like every other average American, right? They want to spend time with their family. They laugh. They eat meals, right?
Maybe one of them
we probably
does.
relate to any of them.
Maybe one of them wants to spend time with his family. There's some video footage of Trump ghosting his grandson, just straight up ignoring him. But anyway, go ahead.
So, right, but outside of that, I don't want either of these people leading my country.
Fair.
Trump is a complete narcissist who is so easily manipulated that we literally watched Kamala Harris do it to him in the debate. I saw clips of the debate. I just didn't watch it.
She said she was going to do it, too. She said, see how easily manipulated he is?
Right.
And then she did it.
Yeah. It took her... I read an article, it was 10, 15 minutes to get completely under his skin, and he lost it. And he went off the rails and made himself look like a loon. The article I read through talked about, this is just proof that Trump is too much in social media. He's so far into it that he got absorbed in by the other story we're going to talk about later. And then, Kamala, who has a broad scope of flaws, managed to get away with it because every single time she actually got hit with the question that actually was a difficult one, she was able to redirect it back to Trump and get him to go off on some tirade again, so she got held to no accountability.
Look, if I... Oh, go ahead, sorry.
I was going to say, if I was a media agency that was running this campaign, debate, of course I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to let Trump go. Why? Because it's good for views. Yeah. But... Yeah. It's a train wreck, right? He should have taken her to task across the board. There are so many things wrong with her as a candidate. But, she was a prosecutor. She's skilled at it. She was coached well at it. She maintained her composure, and she made him look like an idiot. Yeah, out of control, angry idiot.
You know what it does remind me of is it does remind me of what people were saying out of the Biden-Trump debate. That, Trump didn't do great, but Biden did terribly. And that's kind of mirrored in this, where Kamala didn't do great, but Trump did terribly. Where it's this idea...
I would counter that. I would say that Kamala did an amazing job. She managed to deflect anything that was a weakness of her campaign back to the opponent and managed to get under his skin and make the whole thing about how much of a weirdo he is.
So she's like drunken master, dodging the thing and the kung fu, the stereotypical kung fu of redirecting the energy back at the person or whatever.
Kamala, let's talk about your time as the border czar. Well, as the border... I mean, I didn't watch the debate, so I'm being speculative here, but, she spun it around. She was like,
but that's
the border.
Man,
like nothing's wrong with the border, and then Trump went off on cats and dogs getting eaten.
Well, that during the border one, if I remember right, I saw parts of the debate, and then I saw the breakout clips. If I remember right, that is when she said, "But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do something really amazing. I'm going to invite you to one of Trump's rallies." That was during immigration, and the moment she talked about his crowd size and said people were leaving because they were bored. That's the first moment that he went off the rails.
And she managed to completely dodge that question. They didn't come back and push on her. They didn't fact check her in that in that time.
Because they re-asked Trump, like, okay, about immigration. And he said, no, let me address the crowd size. And then he was gone. You know what I mean? It was just gone. He was out. I think with all this, with misinformation, I think the first story we're gonna do is from the Springfield News Leader. This came out in the debate. It was called. This is by Greta Cross. It's by the Springfield News Leader. It was published at 12:22 p.m. September 11th, so a few days ago. And it's called "Immigrants Aren't Eating Dogs in Springfield Despite Confusion After Presidential Debate." They go on to talk about, what was said. They were confusing Springfield, Ohio and Springfield, Missouri, I believe was what this said. But, right here. So the claim that the dogs are being eaten, where does this claim stem from? Earlier this summer, I'm going to highlight this actually, because I can do that. I think I can. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Well, I didn't want to break the page and have an ad load. That seems to happen every time I go to read something. I'm like, oh, look, an ad. Earlier this summer, a social media post in a private Facebook group, quote, Springfield, Ohio Crime Monitor, unquote, went viral. The poster stated that a neighbor's daughter's friend had lost her cat. Now, that's already 3 degrees from separation. The poster went on to make an unsubstantiated claim that Haitian immigrants had allegedly taken the cat to eat, according to ABC News reporting. The social media post was amplified by Trump's running mate, Senator J.D. Vance. On Monday, Vance posted a video on X of him speaking about Haitian immigrants in Springfield, Ohio. The final line of the caption of his post states, quote, "Reports now show that people have had their pets abducted and eaten by people who shouldn't be in this country. Where is our borders are," unquote. I didn't pull up the article, but what I heard was that the Haitians that are here are actually protected migrants because of the situation going on in Haiti. That they were actually granted protected status. Now I couldn't confirm that. It was just two reporters talking, and they've obviously done the work. But I'm just saying that it seemed. I mean, they're Haitian immigrants, right? So it seems like they came to this country legally.
They should have done the work. It doesn't mean they necessarily did.
No, but I mean, they're talking about the story and doing the reporting around the debate and having to weed through all this stuff. So, but I mean, also these are Haitian immigrants that have come to the country legally. There's been news reports of people going to the, Springfield and saying what do you think about Haitian immigrants? And the people they interviewed were like, no, they're a great part of the community. They go to church. They come to work on time every day. They're never we need manufacturing here. We want more people to work here. And then this part gets me too. Springfield entities wrongfully tagged in social media post. A search of SGF police on X, the Springfield Police Department handle on platform formerly known as Twitter, resulted in at least 20 posts tagging the police department in response to Tuesday's debate comments. As of Wednesday morning, Springfield Police Department Public Affairs Officer Chris Waters told the news leaders she hadn't received any calls from members of the community regarding the comments, but she did receive an information request from Newsweek on Monday. The request notably confusing Springfield, Missouri and Springfield, Ohio. That's really great. In a public Facebook post made Tuesday night, Springfield Director of Public Information and Civic Engagement, Cora Scott, wrote, "Thoughts and prayers for the Springfield, Ohio POI tonight." She declined to comment. So what do you, you obviously saw the clips of the debate and stuff. I mean, that's got to be the worst part of the debate. Almost. It almost overshadows any point Trump was trying to make, or even Kamala, even if you don't
It
like
does
her.
overshadow it.
Yeah.
But I've followed up over the week of my more conservative leaning friends and coworkers posting stuff online, saying things at work about um, Kamala had an earpiece in.
I heard that. I heard
She
that.
never got fact checked. It wasn't fair. ABC's basically admitted there's the whistleblower situation where supposedly now there's an ABC whistleblower who said the whole thing was rigged for
I didn't hear that.
Kamala.
I heard the earrings.
I haven't watched the video yet, but I've seen a couple of different places where people have talked about this whistleblower. I haven't followed up on it in any way, shape, or form. But Meet Kevin, a very prominent YouTuber, has actually done a video on it. Haven't watched that either. So no idea if he's saying like this is stupid or if he's like this is credible. I don't know. But the thing about it that really frustrates me on that is like, hey, Trump supporters, look, that's your right. You can support the guy if you want to, for whatever reason. I'm sure there are things that he's done or said you don't agree with, but you think either he's the right candidate and so you're willing to, grin and bear it, or you actually genuinely do approve and appreciate it. He lost the debate. Kamala did not have to cheat. She used her skills as a prosecutor and egged him into making himself look like an idiot.
Yeah.
That is his fault. Mm-hmm. Hold him to account. Quit giving him a free pass.
Yeah.
He's not a victim. He's this great, brilliant 78-year-old billionaire who's the greatest, most powerful, amazing leader in the history of the world, according to his ardent supporters. And to those people who are grinning and bearing it, he's at least more competent than she is.
Yeah.
He should be able to keep his cool for more than 15 minutes.
Well, the thing, too, that I think's amazing is both teams do debate prep. And apparently Kamala hired someone to like almost be a Trump impersonator, to literally stand at the podium, dress like Trump, throw the insults. And, what she was saying, that's all you can tell. Those are talking points that they've gone over before. Just like I'm sure Trump had debate points on immigration and all this stuff. And I just have to say, me and many people on the left, when you and I recorded the podcast and we were like, that debate was bad with Biden, even I was like, that was terrible. And I'm a liberal hippie. And on the left, many people on the left after that debate were Biden were like, this is bad, right? I mean, he did really bad. And Biden stepped down. So like the fact that there's no kind of like reflex of like, maybe Trump did. I mean, there is some conservatives saying he did.
There are conservatives that have been historically have been pretty supportive of Trump who have been critical after this.
Right.
Most of them aren't running down the rabbit trail of, oh, no. Really, cats and dogs have been eaten.
Yeah, it's...
Glenn Beck sent a reporter out to Springfield to investigate and find out what's really going on the ground.
Did he?
Right?
What did they say? Was there like a... I'd like to watch it.
I didn't watch it. It's like, really... okay,
I would like to watch it just to see.
Maybe there's stuff happening we don't know about. But Trump opened up that line with like, two people are too embarrassed to admit it. Like, no, they're not. People wouldn't be embarrassed about that. They'd be outraged.
Yeah, and then, they had the conservative...
And then secondly, like, how... I'm not going to use the word I want to use, but how much of a stereotype is it to say that
this is a family
Haitian immigrants have to eat cats and dogs? What? Like... I am the living embodiment of the Jackie Chan confused meme.
I saw a video evidence of, on Reddit or something, because all this is going around. It was on X. All this is going around, so people are showing video evidence. And it was somebody's backyard with a barbecue, like one of the smaller barbecues, like with the charcoal briquettes. And like cats were just walking around the base of the barbecue, like cats do in a yard if they're outdoor cats. And it was like, this was proof that they are being eaten. And you're like, no, that's just two cats in a yard walking around because they're outdoor cats. And there's a barbecue in someone's yard. Yeah, heaven forbid that someone wants to grill something. To me, what it says is, I don't want to get too far into this, but Trump had some people on his plane that in the even conservatives are kind of concerned with some of these people. Laura Loomer, who I have known in the periphery because of COVID. And one thing about Laura Loomer, I didn't bring up the tweets, but I remember during COVID, it was obviously for her a false flag. She said it was fake, but then she got COVID. And her last X post was, please pray for me. She was really sick and she was in the hospital. And so it was like, she even was on Tim Pool's show, who we'll probably talk about later. And she basically said that anybody who, basically Tim was talking about, can we use the DOJ to arrest these people that are treasonous Democrats or whoever? And she said, yeah, we should hang them. And he cut the feed because that's obviously against YouTube's terms of service. So as she was about to go on a big tirade, he's like, and like just shut everything off. She was in mid-sentence, so it looks weird. It isn't like, hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you guys next week. It was boom, And I know that
it's like cutting for like technical difficulties.
Yeah. I really wish they would have put that Simpsons one up of the dude that was drinking at the camera, their cartoon of the technical difficulties. That would have been great. But, to not get too far into the Laura Loomer hole, which that could be a whole episode, but like this idea that there was this idea I was reading that like some people that had been on the plane, like some actual like reporters had been like, oh, they've been talking to people and it's like, oh, this idea of the Haitian immigrants had been thrown around kind of in back channels, and like maybe she was the one who was like, cause she's been traveling with Trump on his plane for a bit, and she was like, well, maybe she was the one that was like kind of pushing it a bit. She obviously had that reprehensible racist tweet about the Kamala Harris in the White House. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
it's pretty bad. I actually should read it because it is terrible, and this is the type of person.
And she is 100% in Trump's sphere, right? Like, there's pictures of them traveling around. She's in Mar-a-Lago. He's got his arm wrapped around her waist. There's media speculation, which it is completely speculation that maybe he's...
I'm trying to see if I can find
I shouldn't say speculation. Illusion that he's having an affair with her.
Yeah, they're just going on...
So she's in his sphere. She's close enough to him that she's in his sphere and has... influence.
I wish I could find it. It's been posted out everywhere, but like the idea was that she basically said that the if Kamala Harris gets to the White House, I'm paraphrasing, the White House will smell like curry. And if you have to call the White House, it will, I really should find it. You'll basically be calling a call center and you won't be able to understand what they're saying. Oh,
yeah.
This is, yep. Oh, okay. Well, this is, Marjorie Taylor Greene said something against her, so they're probably going to put, Greene, oh, maybe it's up here. I'm trying to see. Oh, right here. Greene, this is from USA Today. So Marjorie Taylor Greene and Laura Loomer got in a spat, right? Greene was responding to a post on X, formerly Twitter, from Trump surrogate and far-right media figure Laura Loomer, which included racist remarks about Harris's Indian ancestry if she won the November 5th election, including the White House will smell like curry. Oh, quote, the White House will smell like curry and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center. She also basically said that like no one will understand, but that's what Laura Loomer wrote in her X post. Maybe I can just go to X and find it. But the point is, all this kind of stuff gets bred, like you said, he's lost online. Some guy named Leon Dash. She also said that 9/11 was an inside job, Laura Loomer did, and she went on Trump on the plane when he went to the September 11th memorial, whatever. Yeah.
Apparently, he said some not nice things about her at the press conference in California yesterday, Thursday. But I haven't followed up on that either.
I mean, long story short, these are the type of people that he's, it's like in his orbit. And I think, the thing too with, they got the Hindustan Times. Ooh, maybe they have our full quote up here because it's probably about that community. It's right here. Laura Loomer said, quote, if at Kamala Harris wins, the White House will smell like curry and White House speeches will be facilitated via a call center and the American people will only be able to convey their feedback through a customer satisfaction survey at the end of the call that nobody will understand, unquote. That's what Laura Loomer said on X about the president. And conservative Indian American representatives have been like, you need to take this down, basically, please, And I'm only saying this because this is like the type of disinformation that it like permeates everything, right? And in fact, that leads to the second story, which I don't know if you heard about. Did you hear about Taylor Swift? She obviously endorsed Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
And it was
and what I find to be a completely like comical jab at JD Vance by posting the picture of her holding a cat as a childless cat lady.
Right. It was good. By the way,
he left the low-hanging fruit out there.
By the way, I mean, yes, it's Taylor Swift. She has more money than anybody and can do whatever she wants. That was a great photo of her and her cat. I just got to put that out there. That looks like a photo shoot that they went to together, that her cat got pampered, and that was like the 5th photo out of 100. And it's almost like when
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And I don't know when these pictures were taken, but I would not be surprised if after JD Vance made those original remarks or they started resurfacing in the news, she goes, call the photographer, we're going to do a photo shoot with the cat. Because she's got money. It's like, get him in here. But I will say one thing that wasn't really reported. I'm sure
she did, Joe.
I would. Mm-hmm. If I had as much money as her and someone called me a childless cat gentleman or whatever they said, I said, get the cats in here, call it photography.
And because of that, you had no right to participate in the democratic system because you didn't have a stake in it.
Yeah, and you have the money and resources that Taylor Swift had. I'd be like, call them in. We're gonna lay this up. One thing I think that was underreported, and this is by Al Jazeera, there was fake AI photos of Taylor Swift supporting Trump and her fans.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Right here, I'm going to blow it up on the screen if I can. Oh, maybe I can't. But it's basically her. Now, there was some for Joe Biden. This one in the left corner that says, Taylor wants you to vote for Donald Trump. It actually said Joe Biden as well, is what I saw some images. But I think this is something that's going a little bit underreported. I saw some people on the left talking about it. Listen, you may disagree with Taylor Swift's politics or the fact that she has so much money. But what's really interesting,
or influence.
Right. But what I think is interesting about the whole thing is, like, if these AI images are surfacing of you, I was talking to my wife this morning, she has a PR team. You're going to talk to your PR team and go, we have to do something about this. These images can't just go out there and have, even if I was to vote for Biden, I'd have to step up and say, I don't support Joe Biden. I'm voting for whoever. So she probably had to sit down with her PR team and say, these AI images are out here. I got to make a statement. And after the debate is perfect, because it's like, well, he's already said these crazy things about eating the cats, and JD Vance is already on record with his. I mean, it was a good and bad night for cats. Where like it was.
Are you familiar with the YouTuber the Kifness?
That name does sound familiar.
He does videos where he cuts together, like, specifically he became famous for a cat making a weird meow that he then mixed into a song with a soundboard.
That's pretty good.
So he made a video in the last couple of days of Trump talking about the cats, and then mixed it with some meows and some other sound and made a whole song about it. It's like 2 or 3 minutes long.
That's pretty good. It's hilarious. Well, I mean, I just really want to focus on the AI image part of this. The fact that there is this fake information going on. She goes, I don't support Trump. I have to make a statement. And I've seen many right-wingers get mad because I think it was in this article here by Al Jazeera. Oh, yeah. And there's the AI image that Trump shared of Comrade Kamala here in Chicago. It doesn't say here, but I that website that she shared as her statement, the vote.org or whatever it was, said that after the debate, I think that they got 300,000 unique visitors to their site. So, like, conservatives are losing their mind. They're like, why does she have so much power? It's like, well, it doesn't matter. If she just tells you to vote and she's supporting Kamala, more people are just going to be like, oh, maybe I should. Even the most basic reading of it is a fan that is a Taylor Swift fan and say, maybe I should register to vote. Like I might not vote for Kamala, but I'm at least going to go over there and see what that entails. And I think if it was going the other way, I think they would be more than happy if Taylor Swift. And did you see Elon Musk's weird comment to Taylor after she did her endorsement?
Yeah, I'd give you a child or something along those lines.
I'll give you a child and guard your cats with my life or something like that. That, listen, I know there was a big blow up about that on the left, but I got to say that is creepy, to say the least, because I don't think he's going to find her a baby. I think he's saying, hey, I'll be your husband or whatever,
Look, he's got like
11
10
kids.
plus kids with how many different women?
Yeah. It is. Somebody did report the other day that he posts like over 100 times a day online on X, which to me just seems I don't. That just seems too much. It just seems too much. Anyway, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about the AI thing? I kind of rambled a little bit.
I mean, when this happened, because it happened a while ago.
Yep.
Maybe it just feels that way now because our news cycle moves so fast. But when it originally happened, it was one of those things that was like, yep, here it comes. Right? Like AI deepfakes. Deepfakes have been an issue since before the 2020 election, right? Yeah. We've been talking about that. Yeah. AI transposing another person's image on top and doing that, right? And AI getting more accessible and more democratized where more people can get it and use it. Right. It's only a natural progression that this kind of thing is going to happen. Mm-hmm. And Trump doesn't have a filter. So of course he's going to share it. Mm-hmm. I don't think he was stupid enough to believe that it was actually true, but 100% I think that he had absolutely no problem poking the bear with that.
Yeah, I think that's a thing where maybe his team looked at it and said, why don't we give it a whirl, see what happens? And
it is his shtick. His whole thing is about pissing off the left, making them angry, getting them riled up, and I mean, right now it's not working as well, right? Kamala's doing a pretty good job of not getting sucked into the angry part of it. She's trying to mimic Obama's like kind of hope-centered campaign.
Well, her whole thing is we can't go back, and I gotta say, as far as slogans go, that's pretty good. It's a pretty good slogan,
right?
She's not
and an interesting contrast to Make America Great Again, right? Trump closed out the debate with lines about how America is a failing state and we're falling apart, right? Like, where's the patriotism in that?
Yeah,
There's no hope.
I even saw
despair.
I even saw people on the right going, this is getting kind of tiring. The shtick of where, the country's going to start burning the moment Kamala steps in office. And he's been saying that for years. And I got to say too, it is the Daily Show, but they did a supercut. I think we talked about it a couple of shows ago. They did a supercut of all the criticisms he lobbied at Biden. Well, then he just pointed those towards Kamala. But now after the debate, you're like, man, it just sounds so old. It's like the greatest hits, You're like, and at least Kamala is talking, even if you disagree with her policy, it's like, oh, the few things she did talk about in the debate, it's like, oh, there is something different in that or whatever, and this is just the greatest hits. So I may not agree with this, but it sounds new, and this person's out there doing, from the first album stuff, and like, listen, it's been, 9 years. We want to hear a new album, and we're just...
Have you seen the thing going around from conservative commentators or friends that have been sharing this thing about, hey, we hired this employee so many years ago, and they haven't done their job, and now they're saying that if we give them a promotion, they'll finally do their job.
Mm-hmm. Oh, are they trying to say that about the Democrats because Biden's been in office? And
yeah, so but I've been seeing this for a while now.
Trump
making the rounds.
But remember, Trump too was in office for years, and he's like, I'm going to fix the border. It's like you had time to do that when you were in office. And, Kamala rightly pointed out, and it's been widely reported that there was a deal. And he called Mike Johnson and said, kill it, because I want to run on that. And I mean, that's been wild. It's like, okay, man, well, you had time in office to do it. And it's like, okay.
So another person posted this recently enough that I've had it, but I've probably had 5 or 6 of my conservative friends post this set of lines. So I'm going to read it.
Okay.
And it is misinformation.
Right? Oh, good.
Like, there is a major flaw to this. So let's see if you catch the major flaw with this. Because a lot of the details are not wrong, but a lot of it is very, very wrong. We have an employee that we hired 3.5 years ago. Mm-hmm. She was given tasks, but completed none of them. She just had a performance review and failed it. So she backstabbed her elderly supervisor. She now is demanding a promotion in November, but refuses to interview for the new position. She promises that if she gets the promotion, she will do all of the tasks she didn't do before. but she won't do them now in order to force us to give her the promotion. What should we do? Sincerely, the USA.
Okay. Well, I would say that
So, what is the major glaring flaw in that?
well, nobody voted for her. She wasn't voted into office.
No, that's accurate. No one voted for her.
Right. Oh,
From making her the nominee, right? Like the party just sort of elevated her up. I still think the Democrats did that wrong, but it was within the bylaws of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
Right? And for conservatives to get mad about that and keep calling this a coup, I keep hearing that still. Like, it was not a coup. I mean, maybe it kind of was, right? Like, I do feel like the Democratic elites,
Oh yeah.
Pelosi, Kamala, and others went to Biden and basically exactly what I told you they were going to do. They're going to go to him and they're going to say, step down, we'll make it peaceful, we'll elevate you up, we'll save your legacy, and then, like, let us put someone else up.
There was reporting behind the scenes that Pelosi was like kind of saying, well, she said it publicly on a show when they were interviewed. She says, well, it was after Biden's team made that statement of like, I'm staying in the race. And Pelosi was on some program and they said like, so what are we doing moving forward? And she said, well, the president really needs to make a decision. And there was this pause and the interviewer was like, but he already released a statement. She goes, well, we're just waiting to see what Biden decides. And then behind the scenes, she very much apparently was reported as saying, listen, Joe, we can do this the easy way or the hard way. Where are the polls?
Like a mob boss, right?
Yeah, we're looking at the polls. What are the polls that you're seeing that says that you're winning? Because every poll I'm looking at says that we're losing and you're dragging the party down. So I forget the guy's name, but she wanted to get one of his staff members that was in charge of polling. Get that guy on the phone. We're going to do a conference call. Walk me through this. And then after that, he stepped down. Now I'll say this: it is a joke. But it is kind of true. Listen, whatever you want to complain about the Democrats, we didn't like Biden, and we said, hey, man, maybe we should change it up.
But what is so one, I'm going to finish my thought on Biden getting pushed out, which was, right, like that definitely had to happen. The thing about it that frustrates me more than anything from conservatives that are now complaining is you didn't want him on the ticket.
Yeah, I know.
Well, you've been complaining about how he's in cognitive decline and he's not capable, and now you're crying like little babies because Kamala has a much better chance, and you lost your weak opponent that you could attack.
Well,
you
Trump
overplayed your hand, Trump.
Yeah, Trump admitted it on stage at some rally where he said, "Man, that was great. That was great."
There's a glaring flaw in that particular diatribe.
Well, go ahead. I missed. I mean, I heard the diatribe, but I don't see it.
She is the vice president of the United States of America. She is not the president. She had one job assigned to her publicly, and then that got taken away because she failed at it miserably.
Yeah.
She has no other responsibilities other than to break a tie in the Senate and to ceremonially certify the votes after the election.
Right. Yep.
She has no power. She has no authority. She can do nothing. There is nothing under the Biden administration that is happening right now that is her fault or responsibility. Conservatives have to tie her to Biden to win this. And so that's what this is. And it's not true. It's just not. Don't get me wrong. I don't like Kamala. No. I don't want her as president.
No.
I'm not going to vote for her. I'm not going to vote for Trump. I've made that very, very, very clear in all of our previous episodes. Mm-hmm. But this is absolute misinformation, and it is taking hold. I hear it everywhere. I heard it yesterday at work from someone I greatly respect, and that is fine. I will allow him to believe what he wants to believe. I'm not going to denigrate him, but it is just factually wrong.
Isn't that the worst? Isn't that the worst when you really respect someone and they go some weird rabbit hole and you're like, oh no, what do I do now?
But it's everywhere. Yeah. But it's everywhere. Like completely sucked in on it, right? And that's the whole point of this. Like the misinformation gets out. It's pithy. It's fun. It's got a nice ring to it and a nice rhythm to it, and so it sounds kind of true. And we just sort of forget facts that we know are genuine, right? Like the vice president.
Yeah.
She has no power. None. She could stand in Joe Biden's office all day long and tell him no, 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 no. And you know what he gets to tell her? Shut up and get out.
Yeah. Hey, don't you have your own office?
This is my job.
Yeah, you have your own office and your own staff. I wonder, it is kind of a joke. I mean, it was, obviously the West Wing is fake, but I wonder how much they actually interact. Because you see them, even when you see the vice president and you're in an event, there's this feeling in the back of your brain of like, oh, they sent them there.
Mean, like the vice president has power, right? Like we saw it with Cheney. He wielded it a lot,
Oh,
right? Like
you're
a statesman.
He was the litmus test for like, here's how you be vice president. Here's how you
Right.
you get blood out of the turnip, or the blood out of the stone
Right.
of the vice presidency.
George Bush Sr. under Reagan, like vice presidents do have power.
Yeah.
They do maneuver. They do things, but ultimately none of that is official power, and the actual policy of the administration is typically set by the president and run by the president. And I say that typically because there are some relatively credible reports that the majority of policy that came out of the Trump administration that people loved and thought were great, like the good things he did, were policies brought forth by Pence.
Oh, like it was kind of laundered. It was like Pence shot the idea and it was laundered. Well, not laundered, but like Trump was like, I did that. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Trump will take credit for anything. So if Pence is like, hey, I got this idea for a bill, he's like, heck yeah, that's my idea now, and like it tells Trump
and
to get...
honestly, at that point in time, Pence probably didn't care. Right now, and after what happened on January 6th, like I'm sure he feels like he was utterly stabbed in the back by the party.
Oh, yeah.
Because he was able to move the party initiative forward by manipulating a guy who's easily manipulated.
He's the one that like...
That's an accusation. I do think it's come from reasonably credible sources, but I don't necessarily know that it's factual because there's been no factual reporting of it.
Well, I think the thing with Pence that, obviously there was tons of stuff that came out about Pence. I think we did the old political podcast with our friend Ben, and I think we were talking about all the stuff coming out about Pence in like 2015 and 2014. I think 2015, he saw an opportunity and went for it. But I think the most out of all of them, being the vice president, is going like, what did I do? And he really swung the other way. Even when he was running for office, people were heckling him on the campaign trail. And they were like, you're like, they have audio of people walking next to him when he's giving an interview, like, we're going to do this with policy. And somebody walk by and be like, you betrayed the country. He's like, no, I did not. Like, he has to interrupt them. And it's like, man, he must just be sitting at home going, I blew it. Because I remember...
I mean, there's a lot of media reports now after the debate of Republicans privately hoping that Trump loses so that they can finally be rid of him.
Okay,
and his influence on the party.
So to go to our next story, I got two questions I want to ask you before we go to our next story. Do you know who was in his campaign prep team? Did you hear who was in his team? Tulsi Gabbard. And I heard Matt Gaetz. And then I heard there was one other name, but I know Tulsi Gabbard. He's got two longtime people that I think I sent you an article a long time ago, Chris LaCivita and I think...
his actual campaign managers.
Yeah, I think, is her first name Chris? I know her last name is Walls. Do you think any of these people get fired or resign after this performance?
I mean, if I'm them, I already know who my person is, and I'm going to ride it out as long as I can and try to milk the paychecks because they're never going to get work again. But then again, they'll probably easily be able to get out of it because anyone who watches Donald J. Trump is going to know that you can't control that man. Right. So those campaign managers will probably have no problem getting work. Actually, they'll probably still get work. Like, look how good we did with that. What do you think we can do with you?
Well, there was reporting when Trump left office that a lot of his staffers were having a hard time getting work because the moment they we worked on the Trump, in the Trump White House, people were like, what? Even conservative people were like, I don't know, man. Like, I don't,
I mean, obviously Pence couldn't get another job, but
and he didn't.
To my own drum roll on that.
Yeah, no, it's good. I get it. Your own joke. It's okay to laugh at your own joke. My other question is, there's been some talk behind the scenes. If Trump loses and there's another investigation into voter fraud and, the Secretary of State or whatever, the Attorney General says we've found no evidence. Do you think Trump, I don't know if there's going to be another January 6th. I think they're going to take more precautions. There's going to be fences up around. Do you think he's going to concede?
No.
Yeah.
No. Look, if he loses resoundingly or if he loses squeaker, he's going to cry.
Or by a whisker. By a whisker, as he said on the Lex Friedman podcast. He was on the Lex Friedman podcast.
If it doesn't matter. Like, if he loses by a whisker or if he loses by a landslide, he's not going to own it. The only way that And actually, no, he won't. Period. It was election fraud. It was stolen. They rigged it. He's going to have his diehardists
He's
completely
already,
loyal to him, and it's going to be the case.
yeah, he has started to do that on the road lately, where he's like, they're doing it again. See what they're doing. See what they're doing
Yep.
again, and you're like, here we go
Yep.
again. Here we go. Here's
Right.
part two of 2020.
And yet, still, credible conservative politicians are not calling him out for it.
Yeah, I did see. I need to share with you more stuff. There's a YouTube channel called The Bulwark, and they were conservatives. They're kind of never Trumpers. Many of them have worked on campaigns. Tim Miller, who's part of their whatever, and he wrote a book called Why We Did It. He worked on the Jeb Bush campaign. He's like, yeah, we got waxed, but he talked about why he left Trump's orbit, and he was on Piers Morgan. And they had Corey Lewandowski, who's part of Trump's team, who was part of Trump's team and got fired for sexual harassment, and then went to another job and was reportedly fired from that for sexual harassment. Was on the thing with Piers, and they were having back and forth. And then Corey says, well, Kamala and Trump have never met. And Piers said, oh, wow, that's interesting. They never met? Corey goes, yeah, really weird. They never met. And they cut to Tim Miller because he was the second part of the interview, and he lost his mind. He said, listen, do you know why they've never met? And Pierce is like, no, why? Tell me. And he goes, because there was not a peaceful transfer of power. Usually when it happens on the stage, the candidate concedes, they get up, shake hands. Trump's team would help Biden with the transition, and that didn't happen. So that's why they didn't met. And Pierce is like, I get it. And he goes, no, you don't. He goes, so you don't get to sit here with Corey Lewandowski and have this glad hand thing where it's like, oh, very interesting. They never met. He goes, because there was a coup on January 6th, and like really laid into Pierce. And I was like, thank you. Thank you. Somebody that was in that orbit is finally like, no. And the thing about Tim Miller is openly gay, talked about it on the pod and stuff. And he said some of Trump's teams before he came out or before he told people were like doing gay jokes in front of him. And he's like, hey, not cool. And I was like, ooh, that's bad. It's like the people you surround yourself with. In fact, Tim Miller did say he went to the spin room, which is where you go after the debate. And they said usually a sign that the candidate did not do well is they show up. Because if you did well, you just get on the plane and you go, crushed it, dunk, swish, whatever, we go somewhere else. But Trump showed up to the spin room, and Tim Miller was there, and he was asking conservative people. He said, no BS, completely honest. What do you think his best moment was? And he said, every conservative operative was like, you're kind of putting me on the spot here. And he's like, he's like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And so to get to
he shot himself in the foot. Like, it's his responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Like, he is the one who flopped. He is the one who fell on his face, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't blame this on it was rigged. It was a setup. Like, no. He went into it. He knew what he was getting into. He already said that he was weary of going in because he thought it was going to be a setup. He went anyway, prepared, and then fell on his face.
Well, that's the thing. Like,
he played her game on her court. He didn't play his game.
Yeah. Well,
your next thing.
Well, I'll just say really quickly about that was like the fact checking thing kind of bothers me because, like, listen, I'm not saying Kamala was up there just spitting truths the whole time, but when you say that, like, oh, they're aborting babies after they're born, and they have to go, no, they're not doing that. And then the dog and cat thing where they're like, hey, we reached out to the authorities in that area and there's no credible reports of this. Those are like the two that I saw. So it's like, yeah, when you say things that are totally off the deep end, of course the news is going to step in and go, no. Now you may disagree with abortion and all that, but like you're just talking about murder at that point, right? Like you're talking about in infanticide or whatever, like, I don't know. Anyway, so on to the third story, which is pretty big. I want to see.
This is just public acknowledgement of what I've been saying for probably 6-7 years.
Yeah, and I mean, many people on the left who are like, hey, man, why is there all this money in right-wing spaces? This is by the AP.
Well, that's not what I'm saying, but...
This came out by the AP. It came out on, it was written by Alan Sutterman and Ali Swenson. It was updated on 11:12 a.m. Pacific time, September 5th, 2024. And it's called Right-Wing Influencers Were Duped to Work for Covert Russian Operation, U.S. says. and I'll just read the beginning of this. They have millions of followers online. They have been major players in right-wing political discourse since Donald Trump was president, and they worked unknowingly for a company that was a front for a Russian influence operation. I'll read the second thing. An indictment filed Wednesday alleges a media company linked to 6 conservative influencers, including well-known personalities such as Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Benny Johnson, was secretly funded by Russian state media employees to churn out English language videos that were often consistent with the Kremlin's interest in amplifying domestic division in order to weaken U.S. opposition to Russian interests, like its war in Ukraine. So basically, I think there's an amount here that it says per video.
Over $10 million.
$10 million in total.
Just to Tencent, which is it Tencent? Which, by the way, they never actually directly call out that company.
It's Tenet Media.
Tenet.
Yeah, Tencent's
a Chinese company.
Yeah, Chinese game company. And I'm trying to see. Oh, right here.
Sorry, Tencent.
Yeah. How dare you? Well, it is bad. Tencent is not taking Russian money that we know of. The indictment shows that some of the influencers were paid handsomely for their work. One unidentified influence contract included a $400,000 monthly fee, a $100,000 signing bonus, and an additional performance bonus. From what I read, also it was $100,000 per video for 4 videos a month. Now, here's the deal, Avin. I'm a small time YouTuber. You and I are. And we don't have a lot of subscribers, right? But here's the deal. $100,000 a video. 100,000. So what I want to see if they have Dave Rubin's quote in here. Maybe they have it here somewhere.
They do.
Do they in this? Did I miss it? His response to maybe they don't have it here. Maybe I'll see if I can find it on X here.
Well, maybe it wasn't Rubin's, maybe it was someone else's, but I did read one of them basically like, hey, look, like I didn't know. That's essentially what was going on.
Right here.
We had this contract and we cut the contract.
Right here. They are, quote, victims of the alleged Russian Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, Ben Johnson published statement.
It is important to note, too, right? Like, and they call it out in the AP article here as well, right? None of the influencers that were involved were charged in the indictment, right? Like, they are, and have publicly come out as like, hey, we're victims of this, too. This is their stance.
But and
I think that's important to recognize, too, that they're not denying that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're just denying that they're responsible.
Well, many people on the left have pointed out that amount of money is so absurd that you would have to ask questions. So they may not know what is happening, but the Tenet Media sent them like a fake. Let's see. Right here. The commenters who were not named in the indictment did not know they were paid for by RT, which is the Russian company. The Justice Department said in one instance, the indictment said one of the RT employees asked the company to produce a video that could blame Ukraine and the United States for a mass shooting at a Moscow music venue. The Justice Department said enough, even though Islamic State had claimed responsibility, a company founder responded to one of the commenters is happy to cover it, according to the indictment. There is video of Tim Pool saying Ukraine is the enemy of the United States and an enemy of Russia. That post has been circulating because, it looks like you're paid by the Russians to say this, right? Also, there was other additional reporting, which I couldn't find, but people were reading from articles when I was hearing people read this news, that the Russian producers that were cutting the check were in. So like Tim Pool and stuff will say, hey, we have ownership of our show. There's no editorial control. But what the Russian payers, the handlers, the Russian money basically would be producers in the Discord chat sharing stories like, hey, did you guys hear about this? Did you guys hear about this? Do you guys want to talk about this? So they're kind of like peppering the pot a little bit. Like, and they might or might not have picked that up, but just the fact that they're influencing more than just the cash payments, they're actually interfering with their chat saying, hey, you guys should talk about these
with that kind of money, you're kind of buying access, right?
Yeah, and the fact that, you, again, just the base level that people on the left have pointed out, and other YouTubers, not even the left, is saying this is so much money per video that you would have to be like, what am I doing and who is this from? Some of the videos that Ruben was posting were like getting 8,000 views because I think the Russian people were like, listen, we're just going to pay you a blanket fee. We just kind of want you to stay on message. And one thing that maybe privately they're doing this, but publicly the influencers that are mentioning this have not said yet is like, why do you think these people picked you? Lauren Chen was the person who's like the US front was like picking these people. But like one, it says a lot about her when she sees this talent. It's like, this would be perfect for this kind of money coming from this source. And two, as an influencer, don't you think you'd be like, ooh, maybe I said some stuff that could be maybe.
Well, I mean, I haven't seen it, right? I'm not even very familiar with Tim Pool or really any of these people that you've mentioned. I've heard some friends talk about videos from Tim Pool in the past, but didn't you say that he responded almost immediately afterward with like flip, like, hey, Ukraine is our ally, we should be helping them out, we need to give them money? Did you say like almost immediately after the story came out he did that?
Yeah, but there was like Tim Pool. I may just go to X for this because the Google isn't working. Time. There we go. Just go to Tim Pool on X. Let's go to. Oh, he's reposting all this stuff. You know what? Yeah, we're just gonna. I keep saying time. Man, yeah, it's anyway, he did, but he also said some stuff against Putin and it was kind of like cheeky, like, oh yeah, and Russia sucks donkey balls and stuff. And you're like, okay, well, we didn't need the last part. You could have just stuck with the, Ukraine as an ally.
Even in this article, he calls they quoted him for a response from him about Putin being a scumbag.
Maybe I found it.
Let me see if I can find it.
Oh, right here. This is kind of like right after it broke, I remember. Upon reflection, I now understand that Ukraine is our greatest ally. As the breadbasket of Europe and a peace-loving people, we cannot allow the fascist Russians to continue their crimes against humanity. We must redouble our efforts to provide an additional 1 billion once. What is this not? Come on. No, I don't want to subscribe to Tim Pool. There was more to this. It got cut off. But, I mean, the comments are insane. Blink twice if you're in danger. LOL. And people think you were being serious too. Bravo. And then someone said, with a Ukrainian flag on their whatever, they said, prospect of a little prison time got you feeling nervous?
I mean, he's not going to be, I don't know, maybe as the investigation gets deeper, but they aren't cited in the indictment as co-conspirators in this.
Well,
right?
They're
said just complicit.
Right. And I mean, that's the thing is like, okay, you may not have known where the money came from and everything, but you still took the money and you didn't ask the questions. Again, there's always due diligence.
You took the money and you delivered the message.
I've sent stuff to you before, and I've seen stuff that is obviously, it's like, hey, who is this commenter? You're a little bit better at seeking that stuff out. You're like, it's a bot, dude. And I'm like, yeah, I figured it was misspelled, but like, just check. I've also got, full disclosure, like we're a very small YouTube channel. We have like 25 subscribers. We have gotten.
We do?
Yeah. Oh,
yay!
Yes. Well, yeah, yes. But I've gotten, like, you get like blanket, hey, do you want to interview this person on whatever? And it's like, here's the 3 questions you could ask. And I'm like, well, listen, I don't know in the pantheon of interviewers what tier I'm at, probably F minus. But I don't think that's how interviews work. I think it's you saying, hey, I'd like to ask you a few questions. I've heard about you. You don't get to dictate the terms. If you want to get your word, hey, read this book about the disastrous climate apocalypse, and here's some questions you should ask. It's like, no, I don't respond to those because it's like that's one. it was my other grief channel about, I guess maybe they did some weird search about death and were like, well, this has death in it. My point is, there was like no due diligence of, hey, where's this money coming from? And then when they give you like a fake, they gave him like a fake AI generated thing. They're like, oh, yeah, legit. And you're like, you can't Google this person's name. His last name was like Gregorian with 2 N's. So it's like, what is happening, you guys? And you and I talked on the phone, Rushgate with Trump, who knows? Again, that was kind of disproven. But there has been this consistency on the left of, hey, I think we don't have any proof, but like there's a lot of money floating around these right-wing circles. Like the Daily Wire had, fracking people, give them money to start that. Turning Point had, millionaires in their seed fund.
Tucker Carlson openly, well, okay, he didn't openly, but like in court admitted that he's not a journalist. He's a propagandist.
Yeah. And so
right?
you see stories like this.
And what does that tell you? Pay me for your story. If it lines with me enough, I'll take your money.
That was even part of this indictment. Was apparently one of these influencers was doing a show, and they shared, like in the chat or maybe an email afterwards, they shared that Tucker Carlson video of him in that supermarket when he was in Moscow interviewing Putin. And they're like, hey, maybe you should share this video. And I guess even the influencer was like, isn't this like shilling? And they're like, well, we think it's important. And the influencer apparently got back to him and said, fine, I'll run it. So it's like at that point, it's like you literally are shilling taking the cash. And so my question is, or my theory is that you at least have to do the due diligence and say, that's a lot of money. Even Valuetainment was going about this saying, even if you get like 1 million views on your video, which is astronomical for any video on YouTube, you get maybe $6,000 to $8,000 depending on sponsorships and things like that. So like if you're getting 100,000 for a video, you have to be like, wait.
That's what you're getting paid from YouTube, right? The way YouTube pays is based off of like how many ads are in for the views,
right.
Are people actually watching the ads? Are they clicking on the ads, right? Like there's a whole metric that goes into how you get paid by YouTube for views.
Right.
Which, like, people don't get rich on that. Although it could be a nice little side hustle. People get rich on sponsorships and like product placements, affiliate marketing, right? Like that's how you make your money.
Yeah.
In fact, I was watching or listening to a Modern Wisdom podcast, Chris Williamson interviewing Andrew Huberman. And Andrew talked about like, look, like I'm out here because I want to share this information. The sponsorship deals and the affiliate revenue that we get out of it, right? Like that's incidental. I'm here to share the information. But yeah, we make money.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get kind of mad too. I mean, this is kind of we're getting to the end of our time.
Aside.
Yeah, I think it's an aside, but like I do find it funny. I've seen this kind of pushback on like hobby content that I watch where they're like, you're just getting paid for access. You're getting access to stuff early, like they're paying you. It's like, well, isn't that how this has always worked? Like whatever company picks a few people and says, hey, we're going to give you this product a month in advance. And most of the people I follow say, listen, that's how this works. But at the end of the day, we always come back to the fact that we're going to review this product, but we have the editorial right to say what we want about it. And so if we don't like the product, we will say, we do not like this product. We do not recommend you getting it.
It's been this way forever, right?
Right.
When I was a kid, my dad used to write for LAN magazine, LAN.
Hey,
Local
back
Area
in when those were things. I remember those.
And I this was in the early mid-90s. Dad wrote for LAN magazine. And so as an author for LAN magazine, you know what happened to us a lot?
You got stuff.
We got a lot of really cool cutting edge computers. They were lent to us, they weren't given.
You got to send them back. I've heard of that too. You have to send stuff back
Right.
after the review period. I've heard of that.
But like I'm 10, 11 years old and we've got 486 MMX processing computers before they were publicly available on the market. So that Dad could write his article about this tech before it went public, so that when it went out, the article would go out about the same time.
Well, usually the launch
about this chip.
Yeah, usually, well, with magazines, it would be that month it came out. And nowadays, it's like, there's times like video games. Hey, the embargo lifts at 9 a.m. on Monday. That's when
Right.
your review goes live. And every
Yep.
reviewer I've seen will say, like, hashtag sponsored or thank you for so and so for giving this to us.
Yeah.
And then some of them will say, hey, we got to keep it. And I've given this away because I don't need it. They sent me a controller. I have 9 controllers. I don't need a controller. I'm going to give it to someone that needs a controller. And we're able to do
Right.
that. Or they'll say, hey, like Kind of Funny, who I watch for video game stuff, they get sent like PlayStations early, when a new model comes out, and they said, hey, we had to send it back. Like after X amount of time, we had to. I'm sure your dad had to send stuff back, and I'm sure your dad, when he wrote stuff,
All of it.
yeah, I'm sure your dad, when he wrote stuff, was like, this is going to be great, and then he started testing it out and go, this is garbage, and it wrote his review and said this underperformed. It said it was going to send this.
Yeah, I have no
benchmark.
idea. I was way too young to read his article.
Well, I'm just saying, like, that's part of the
But
edit.
still.
That's part of like the editorial, like, this isn't right.
Right. Right.
For these people to just be like, man, Ukraine is the enemy of the people. It's like, that's not good when you're getting paid money from Russia to say that. And one of
Right.
the
But if those people coming in were like, hey, look at this thing and look at this thing and look at this thing, right? And much like the narrative all throughout COVID, right? Like, I'm just asking questions here. I'm just asking questions, right? Like, just ask some questions, right? Like, you shouldn't just trust this openly. Just ask questions over and over and over again. You heard this, and so these influencers come in with some cash. They splash some money. They're like, hey, look, right? Like, we're getting shut down. We're not allowed to express our views. We'd really like you to be the voice for us. We think there's some other perspective that's not being covered. Like, people aren't asking questions.
Right. Yeah.
Could you go out and do that for us, right? Like, here's this piece of information. Would you cover this? Here's this piece of information. Would you cover that, right? This is just a lot of hate towards Russia. Russia's a really peaceful country. They want to be allies to the West. They're trying to get rid of Nazis. They're being heroes. Right? And that's getting buried because of all the corruption in Ukraine and all the corruption in the Biden family in Ukraine. Right? And so that narrative feeds really, really well, and it's easy to spin that. And the other person's on the other end, like, isn't this kind of shilling? They're like, yeah, but like no one else is doing this. Like, we need to have a voice out there. It's really easy for them to be like, you know what? It's a lot of money. You make a good point. Yeah, sure, I'll do it.
Yeah,
To me, I've been watching this since 2015, 2016, right? And after the 2016 election, we had the whole Facebook documentary on Cambridge Analytica, everything that went on with that.
Yeah, I remember that.
Influencing that way, right? And I've been a very firm believer that China and Russia, at a state level, have been influencing social media as aggressively as they can in the United States. A divided United States gives a vacuum for China and Russia to actually come in with influence. And yeah, we're kind of a bully. We kind of go into other countries around the world and are like, do it our way or the highway. And so you got these other countries coming in like, oh no, we'll help you out. Like, yeah, we're not going to hold you to the same level of account, but you're going to have to do us a favor later is kind of how I view this happening.
Yeah.
I think China's new Silk Road initiative is operating that way a lot.
Oh yeah, I heard about that. Yeah.
So this article came out and I was like, cool, there's actual solid evidence. But I still think it's happening at a lower level, less obviously through social media posts.
I think
they want us to hate each other. They want us divided.
Yeah, I think the stuff with Trump is one thing. You and I have talked about that. But I think this is like kind of the real Russiagate, the idea that we can mess with Facebook and we can pay these influencers. And we like that to me is like the real deal. China is doing that as well. Stuff like that.
I don't think we have anything as overtly obvious as China. I just fully suspect it's happening. And
I think but I mean,
succeeding.
We do it
resoundingly well.
We do it too. I mean, we're in the news too of like, oh yeah, we really wanted this person to win an election, or Pakistan comes to mind. And anyway, but we're getting to the end of our time. Is there? I mean, we could talk. We may. I don't know if we're going to talk about next month because next month's the well, not next month. Anyway, we'll come up. Something may fall in our lap again. It is the October surprise next month, right? So like that's supposed to be when the big thing in October happens. Well, it's good. It always does seem to happen. It is going to screw. A lot of people are talking about the Middle East. If something blows up in the Middle East, that's really going to affect, the Democrats, really. But is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here, Evan?
I mean, I'll still point people towards my personal YouTube page, Your Agent Guide, where I do helpful tips and videos on real estate. It's been a while since I made a video, but there is still relevant content that could be useful to you in your home selling,
I
home
like
buying
it.
journey. I do need to make more videos, but have fallen out of the habit, and making these videos takes time, effort, and energy. So um, hold me to it. Go watch some videos and make some comments, and press me on making more.
Yeah, and I just publicly have to apologize to Avin because you were right. Thumbnails matter. I changed the thumbnail in some of my videos. Wow, all of a sudden they're getting more engagement. Imagine that. My boring thumbnails weren't doing well. Uh, Two, another announcement. This is new to Avin, so he's going to hear this for the first time as well. I took the Grief of Politics and put it on like one main feed with some other podcasts, but everything's getting kind of muddled. So I talked to my wife about a budget and stuff, and I'm going to put the Grief of Politics back on its own audio feed. So it's on its own channel on YouTube. You can go to the Grief of Politics on YouTube. Look at the red background with the Grief of Politics with Avin and I's name. You can subscribe on YouTube. A video comes out once a month. We've been posting old episodes on there too to get it all in the same channel. And it will also be an audio feed probably, I would say, in a couple weeks. So probably by the time you're listening, well, to the next episode, they should all be up, and it'll be its own separate audio feed because, again, it was just getting too muddled. And I was looking at the main feed, and there was like no interaction with any of their stuff. And like you said, everything, people have their audiences. So it's like, well, I don't care about this other stuff. I just want to listen to politics, or I just want to listen to games. So that's going to be on its own feed. So that's like the big announcement. So, go to my other whatever and subscribe to those feeds. I do Game with Grief once a month now, but there may be some bonus episodes in there. Avin is on there once in a while. I may have him back on because there's more terrible news in the gaming thing. Which sucks. And then I also have the tabletop thing, which we should have you on for that too. We should do something fun like kill a dragon or something, as opposed to listening to this horrible, depressing, earth-shattering news with politics. So go to those places. If you like the channel, obviously like and subscribe. Comments are good. You can write to us at GWG Podfellows. Just let me know what episode you're writing about, what show, because that will stay one email address for each show because I pay for that. And, I get a lot of fake people trying to get me to interview them on that. And I would rather just have people who like the show and stuff like that. And tell your friends and family, like Avin always says, tell people, hey, these two.
Yeah, anyone you think might be interested or have an opinion,
Right.
Destroy our viewpoints, tear us apart, or for that matter, maybe someone you think that might be reasonable and listen to it and reevaluate their position.
Yeah, yeah. Avin and I don't really destroy each other because we actually like sending cat photos to each other. So we have to continue that. If we destroy each other, the cat photos will end, and that can't be right. So, thanks for joining me, Avin. I will talk to you again, next month on the show.